What is up, everybody? I'm Johnny Blacklight. Welcome to the channel. Here we talk about all kinds of weird stuff. UAPs, cryptids, conspiracies, glitches in the Matrix itself, and more. Subscribe and stay a while. But yeah, man, today we're going to be looking at a story about the Sandown Clown. An entity I've looked into a little bit, I've read a few stories about, so let's get into it. This story comes from r/alien abduction user Plaid Weasel. My encounter with the Sandown Clown. At 5, I encountered, spoke to, and physically touched the Sandown Clown. My experience was the subject of a listener episode of the Cryptonauts podcast, but I will do my best to give the cliff notes of my experience. At the time of the event, I was 4 or 5 years old, and the sun was beginning to descend, so late afternoon at best. My memory of what happened sticks out because it would shape the things I would draw as I grew older. I was sitting on a large boulder in my grandparents' backyard. It had been dug out some time before to make way for a large decorative fish pond that by my time was rarely used except to entertain me. My grandfather had just gone inside, and I knew enough to not go swimming in the gross water. It was at this moment I heard a noise to my right and turned. To the right of my grandparents' home was the neighbor's massive field. I can't remember what crop they grew, but the tall grass at the time probably means it hadn't been used in a while. Standing in the grass was a figure with a scarecrow pose, arms out, straight body. His hat was cone-shaped. His face features wooden. He had a jack-o'-lantern face with an empty nose hole, but he still looked alive. But when he talked, his mouth didn't move. I could hear him in my head, like telepathic. He gave off major clown vibes, which I was comfortable with as both parents did charity events as clowns. I would say he was roughly 6 to 7 feet tall, with wide shoulders. He wore scarecrow clothes, with patches of bright colors over pale brown and black. But what he said to me was what your podcast re-sparked in my memory, and left me with a distinct knowledge that not only was I not the only one anymore to have seen him, but that a vivid experience could have been something more sinister. He waved a wooden hand and I heard a voice say, "Hello, Sam. We are the colors?" I remember distinctly that he asked it as a question, and I responded with, "My name is Luke, not Sam." I wasn't scared. I felt calm and relaxed until the end of the encounter. He pointed at himself and did a short bow, then reached out into the field next to him and opened a door. The door had not been there before. It was not attached to anything. I could see inside the gap of the door, and the random room inside was green, with wooden chairs. He motioned for me to come with him. I remember getting up off the boulder, walking with him through the door, and being enveloped by bright red and green Christmas lights. They were as bright as the sun, and I had to close my eyes to keep from going blind, or so I thought. I woke up laying on my grandparents' couch. It was dark outside, and my parents rushed in when I called out to them. They had found me half an hour before, asleep in the middle of the field, having called for me and not hearing me answer when things got dark. It was last year when I first started hearing about the Sandown Clown encounter, and remarked how similar it was to my own encounter. I honestly believe they were either the same or slightly different entity as my own encounter. As it's been months since my encounter appeared on the podcast, I've been able to deal better with the newer information connected to my experience. Sam didn't try any tricks with me, like with the children from the Isles of Man. Sam's voice wasn't vocal, if that makes sense. It was like an echo hitting off something and hearing that inside my head rather than through my ears. Thinking it over, I believe the full sentence was, "Hello, Sam. We are all colors? Skip the starlight." The inside of the green room had come up again in my mind. I've tried remembering other details, and when I sat down and tried to nail down anything else about it, I distinctively recall that there were 2 empty wooden chairs and 2 occupied chairs further back. The door was see-through. I never saw a doorknob. I couldn't make out details about the other people sitting in the chairs, but they had the same outline as well. Sam, the hat, the head shape, long arms and legs, but details are just a void, like when someone's face gets blurred to protect their identity. I thought I would share my experience here, finally, as I feel much better about it than initially. Update. I have undergone hypnotic regression to relive the experience. I have spoken to the guys at the Cryptid Cocktail Party podcast about these sessions to save space here. Suffice to say, there were more revelations to my encounter, and I was excited to share what I could without being traumatized again. We'll answer questions in DMs or on this post. Man, there's so much levels of weird to this, man. Feels like some sort of doorway into another realm or something that we just don't understand as people. The form of Sam feels like maybe some sort of shape-shifting entity that can lead you into these places and kind of maybe show you around. Seems like it takes the form of some sort of entity that maybe we're familiar with, very Pennywise-like. Just the otherworldly nature of the realm too, with the doors and the rooms and the lights, the other entities there, but not being able to see facial features, them all kind of looking like Sam, the same silhouette. Is this some sort of like way station, some sort of meeting place for these entities in some other dimensional realm that we can't quite get to? Who knows, man? But these type of stories where people are encountering these entities and being shown things, it's just so like remarkably fascinating to me. So the whole Sam, the Sandown Clown phenomenon is definitely a very interesting one to me. The specifics of it is just such an interesting thing. It's not just like a Bigfoot story or Dogman or something. And yes, those all do have very similar traits to those stories, but the telepathic speaking and doorways and taking you to another place is like a whole nother level of weird, you know what I mean? But yeah, man, these Sandown Clown stories are super interesting. Let me know if you have any similar stories or encounters or anything just unexplained in general. Always definitely interested in that kind of stuff. Let me know in the comments. But yeah, man, I think that's going to do it for today's video. Just wanted to jump on real quick and read this story, kind of chop it up a little bit and see what we think. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed. I'm Johnny Blacklight. Subscribe for more. Y'all have a good one, and I'll see you next time.